Hi, this is Dana with Designs by Dana. I decided to do the beginning of this tutorial in a different location. I'm in my backyard, sitting on a 30-foot slab concrete in my motorhome. And I like the sunlight out here, so I just wanted to show you. That's the front of the motorhome. And here's the back of the motorhome. And the kitchen. Outside, my window and the neighbors. And then back to me. So today I'm going to be working on a top pattern. I actually saw this pattern done from a Spanish speaking person. I think that's what it was. And so I just kind of looked at it, got an idea what I wanted to do, and I went from there. So after putting the piece together and got quite a few requests for the actual pattern. So today I'm going to start you out, and every time I come back I may be somewhere else, maybe in different clothes, maybe a day or so into the tutorial. Sometimes tutorials do take 3 to 5 days. I have tutorials that take months because I'll start something out and set it to the side until I can do my research or whatever, and then come back and then slice them all together. So what I need you to know about this particular top, I'm just making it in worsted weight 4-ply yarn. I think it would be really nice made with some really nice fibers, yarns, right? I just don't have the funds to make it in good quality yarns. I'll leave that to you, but it does lay nicer, even nicer when you're able to do that. So I had some yarn donated to me, and so today I'm going to start out with this bright orange. I was thinking this will really make it easy for you to see what I'm doing. And then as I go down the top, I think I'm going to change colors once I get down past the hip area, because with this particular top I'm going to take it on down into maybe a long dress. I'm not sure. Never know. Sometimes when I start these things out, I started one thing, end with another. Don't want to be too wordy with this tutorial, but what you're going to need to do is decide your hook size that you're going to be comfortable with. And whatever hook size, because I want my little border around the beginning of my shirt where you do a lot of tugging and pulling, I'm going to choose to use a smaller hook to start with. So this one's going to be a F. I've actually already done my gauge on it. I found out that my gauge for single crochet with this particular hook for 4 inches is 16 stitches make 4 inches. So I measured where I wanted my top to fall comfortably. Do I want it to hang off my shoulders a little bit? Do I want to sit nestled right over the top of my shoulders? So what I decided to do was make it, I measured my client when I did this, and hers was 36, was 36 inches. And so I realized that by taking the 4 inches and dividing it by the 36, multiplying it by the 36 was going to give me what I needed. And I needed 144 chains to start this top, if that makes sense again. So what you have to do is figure out first your inches, then you have to figure out what your inch, if we're making single crochets, how many stitches are in 4 inches. And then you just take that 4 inches and multiply it by 36 to get your 140, you get your count. So with mine was, like I said, was 144. And do the chains, connect it together, and then I did about 4 or 5 rows, so whatever's going to be comfortable for you. And then once we do that, we'll come back and start the design. This tutorial is not for someone who doesn't know how to crochet. This is just to give you, a lot of you don't like to read patterns, so I'm going to try to walk you through a tutorial. Alright, so get your hook size, get your numbers and figures together, and sit down and figure out, or do a little swatch is what they call it. So I would say do about 20 chains, and then do about 4 or 5 rows, and then count your stitches. So see how many stitches are in 4 inches, and then however many stitches are in 4 inches, that's your gauge. So you would take that to figure out how wide you want to get, and then you would double it. So let me maybe put a swatch together and come back and give you an idea of what I'm really talking about, instead of doing so much talking. Alright, what I did here was just chain 20, and I did single crochet. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, beginning of 4 rows. I didn't finish this one out. And I did it in the pattern that I was going to do around the neck, because this yarn was thicker than the actual yarn that I used to make that top. So I wanted to be able to show you that every time you use a different yarn, you're going to have a different gauge. Every time you use a different hook, you're going to have a different gauge. Okay? Here is 20 single crochets. And I told you I wanted you to find out how many inches, how many stitches are in 4 inches. So here's 4 inches. So I lay it at the beginning, and I count the stitches, and I came up with 18. Actually 17. I came up with 17 stitches. So this one made it one more than the yarn that I was using. That was a little thinner. It was a baby yarn. So I have 17 stitches. So the next thing I would need to do would be to, let me pull this up. The next thing I need you to do is to measure from here to here. And I don't have my measuring tape in here, but I'll measure from here to here. And then once I measure from here to here, I'll double that number. Okay, so whatever that number is, then I'll double it. And then I'll take that number and I'll divide 4 inches into that. And however many I get, I will multiply that by 17. Because I know that there's 17 inches, 17 stitches in 4 inches. And then that would tell me how many single crochets, how many chain stitches I need to start my neckline. All right, so again, you're going to measure from here to here, wherever you want your neck all the way around to lay at. Do you want to lay here? Do you want to lay here? Do you want to lay here? Whatever that measurement is, just take a measuring tape and go across. Double that measurement. All right, then take that number and divide it by 4. That's 4 inches. Now, whatever your number comes out to, whatever the number comes out to, say it's going to be 10. And so you're going to need 10 of those times 17. And then that tells you how many single crochets to do. All right, so I'll be back. This is what I came up with. So pause the video, read through it. I will be reading through it to kind of tell you what I did. Your numbers will probably be different, but if your numbers are the same, then you'll come out with the same number of chain stitches. So just pause that and read it, and then we'll be able to move forward so I can tell you how to start your neckline. Okay, so what I did was I measured from where I want my neckline to end and start at on both sides. I came up with about 15. All right, and so by coming up by 15, I have to double that 15 and make it 30, so it'll go all the way around my neck and lay really nice. And then what I did was took that number 30, and because to come up with our gauge, I used 4 inches. That was to determine my gauge. So I took a 4-inch and I counted how many stitches, how many single crochets I did in that 4 inches. And I did 17 single crochets were in that 4 inches is what I came up with. So here's the formula. I took the 30 and I divided 4 into the 30, 4 inches into the 30, which is the number of inches around my neck, and I came up for my count of 7.5. So I took that 7.5 and I multiplied that by how many stitches were in that 4 inches, which were 17. And by multiplying that, that's how I came up with 127.5. So anything past the point that's higher than 5 or above, I go to the next number. So that tells me that I need to chain 128 chains and then connect them together. So again, my formula was 30 inches. I divided it by the 4 inches and I came up with 7.5. Then I took those 17 stitches that were in that 4 inches and I multiplied that, and I came up with 127.5, which I'm going to 128 chains. So now I have chain 128 chains. And then if you have a good way that you like to connect together, go ahead and do that. What I've done is I've just followed all of the back, the back of my chain and the front of my chain. I butt up my backs together. And by butting up my backs together, when I started that chain, I kept a tail. So what I'm doing is putting my hook back in the loop, and I'm pulling that tail through that loop. And then I'm going to tighten up my running tail. Get it pretty tight. All right. So now my loop is gone. Everything's gone, but I'm going to work with the chain. So what I've done is figured out for me is I take my hook and I put it, and the reason I do the back because I like how it lays better than going in the front. That way I have a front. My front looks just like my end, and you'll have to do it to see it. I just take the bump that's in the back, go up underneath that bump with my hook, and I lay my tail, because I'm going to be working over my tail, and I get my running yarn. Alright, I was cut off. I had too many videos in waiting, I think, on my camera, on my phone. So anyway, I went in to that back loop and I chained 1. And I think when I come back around for my first one, that height's not going to be really good enough, so I'm going to chain 2 just on this one. But you can judge as you go. Alright, and so then what I'm going to do is work in all of these back loops here. And they're just little humps. And I'm going to be hiding my tail, getting rid of that tail right in the work. Now another thing I can do is leave out the tail and use it as a marker if needed be. Sometimes that's good to do also, but because I'm only going to make my border around here only about 4 or 5 rows, maybe even 3 rows, since this yarn is a little thicker. Now you may be using thinner threads or whatever, but I'm just doing this for tutorial purposes. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just continue around, and when I come to the end of this row, I'll come back and show you how I connect together to try to make my seam less noticeable. There's different things that you can do with different yarn types and the hook sizes that you're using. Alright, so I'm gonna, like I said, keep going around, and when I come back I'll show you how I connect that together and go up to the next row. And then after that, we'll start the design. I'm back. So, trying to hook up this camera so you can see what I'm talking about. I've gone all the way around. I'm going to use this mirror to help me talk to you. So I've gone all the way around. And this is what I do. And since the last time I videoed earlier today, I also started another one with a different yarn. And this yarn is called Simply Soft, because I want to show you the different way that it lays by using different yarns and different hook sizes. So I'll tell you about this one in a second after I show you how to connect it together. So how I connect it is make sure I have my right side showing, and now remember at the beginning I chained 2. So I'm going to take my hook out of the loop, make sure my yarn is in the back, and I'm going to come in through the back of the very first single. I'm going to take this loop and I'm going to pull it through there. And I'm not going to do it too tightly, just loose enough. And then I'm going to put my hook back in, and I'm going to chain 1, then I'm going to chain 2 and tighten it. And then I'm going to go right into the very first one. And with this particular pattern, I'm doing a back loop. So I'm going to go in the very first one here with a single, and I'm going to do that all the way around. And when I come back, I'll show you one more time. Or actually, I'm going to show you on the other fabric that I used how to close that off. And then the next time I come back, we'll be starting the design. Sorry if my camera's moving. So with this one, what I did was I went up to an H hook. I used different yarn, which is this is Simply Soft. And I did my gauge, and it was 15 stitches to 4 inches. So when all calculations were done, it still came out to 128. Now this one's a little bigger. I did, instead of doing 30, I did a little more. I wanted it out a little further, so I went out to 34 instead of 30. But then my calculation still came out to 128 chains that I needed to achieve this. So remember, gauge is important depending on the hook size you use and the thread that you use. This is Simply Soft. You see that shine? This is just your regular Worcestershire weight. I really want to do something with a thread. Maybe I'll do that next on my next top or dress. But I wanted to show you how that technique that I just showed you on the orange, can you see that you really can't tell? Now you can see it on the other side. There's a seam that runs on the other side. But on the right side, it looks pretty flawless. And I'm going to back that last one out just to show you what I did. So when I came all the way around, I'm on row 4. Try to get as close as I can. I'm going to go take my loop out, go into the first, keeping my yarn in the back of the work, put the hook through, grab the loop. Now Simply Soft splits, so be careful, and pull it. And I'm not pulling it really tight. And then I chain 1, and when I chain the second one, I tighten it. Alright, and then I go in the very first stitch there with a single. I don't skip past that with a single. And I'm going in the back loop as I stated. Now if you choose to, you don't have to do the back loop, but that's what the back loop creates, that beautiful ridge. And what I was telling you at the beginning, instead of going in the one loop, I go from the bottom. That gives it the same finish at the top as at the bottom, at the top of the bottom. So that's what makes that look different. Now this yarn was given to me and it had a lot of ties together, so I'm hiding all my ties in the back, but that's okay. This is just a template. Somebody wants it. If not, I'll keep it for myself and wear it. But yeah, so I think you're going to really like that. So try that, and then when you come back and you do as wide as you want it, we're going to start the next stitch. All right, and I'll show you on this stitch what I'm doing. I think that's wide enough. So I'm going to just chain. I'm going to, because I want to start I want to just chain one and tighten it. And then I'm going to go in the very first one with a single, and then I'm going to chain two. Now that's going to act as my first double. And then I'm going to chain two because I want two in between. I'm going to skip one and I'm going to do a double into the next stitch. And I'm going in both loops. All right. So there's going to be two chains in between each square. So I'm going to chain two, skip one, and do a double crochet in the next. Chain two, skip one, and do a double crochet in the next. Chain two, skip one, and do a double crochet in the next. And I'm going to do that all the way around. So remember this first one, just so it kind of looks like the rest of them, it blends in. I'm always really cautious about when I'm doing a round, that it looks tailored and nice, not homemade. All right, so I got you working on a couple. Like I said, I'm going to be working on two at the same time. And you can see the tightness of this one with the smaller hook. This one had the 128, but look at there. This one will be closer up on the neck. This is 128, but this one is done with a H hook. Look at there. This one made him fall off the shoulder a little bit. But I'm very pleased. So when I come back, I'll have I'll get to the end and show you how I close it off, and just keep doing that. And we're going to do that for about 5 or 6 rows, probably. I'll see. I have to gauge it as we go along. This tutorial is just to help you design whatever it is you want to be working on. All right, so I'll be back in a little bit. All right, here's where I'm at. When I come around to the end, I have 2 stitches left, so it's not even with my number count. So I'm still going to chain 2, skip the one, go into the next one, which is really close to the beginning one, but that's okay because I'll be able to. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch into that second one right there, because the first one was a single, and then I did 2 chains. So in that second chain, I'm going to do a slip stitch. And that's how I pulled that together. So it's really not that noticeable. It's not too noticeable. All right. And then as the rows go around, they'll be fine. So now what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to go back in that same stitch with a single, and I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to chain 2 more and jump over to the next top of the double crochet and continue around with the same pattern. All right. And these holes are going to be a little bit bigger than the ones on the orange. I'll come back next time I come back, I'll have the orange ones done so you can see the difference in the two and how they lay. And it all really just depends on what quality yarn or thread that you use. So continue that pattern for, I'm placing it on my chest so I can see how far down it's gonna go. So it's not too bad. Peekaboo. I'll probably come down 4 or 5 rows and then I have to start the design. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. So here are my 2 pieces. Here's the one, regular 4-ply Worcester weight, and I've done 8 rows. I'm at the end of the 8th row where I chained 2. You can see that. Going into the 2nd chain, slip stitching, and now I'm going to start a new pattern. So again, I'm going to go in that same one with a single. I'm going to chain 2, then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go right back in that same one, and that's considered like a V-stitch. I'm going to chain 2 in between. I'm going to skip the bottom double crochet and go into the next one to the top of it with the same stitch, a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet, and that's a V-stitch. You see that? All right, and we're going to do that all the way around. Chain 2, skip a double, go into the next double with a V-stitch. The V-stitch is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet back into the same double crochet, the top of that double crochet. All right, and you're going to do that all the way around. You come back around here and I'll show you what you do. When you get back around, on this one I'm skipping this one. I've chained 2 and I'm going to connect into the top, that 2nd chain with a slip stitch, and I've completed that row. Then to start the next row, I'm going to just slip stitch into the space. See that? Slip stitch into the space. I'm going to chain up 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to do a double crochet again in that space, chain 1, go back into that same V-stitch with 2 more double crochets. That'll be your next row. Alright, that's what that looks like for the next row. So at some point you're going to have to stop this and back up until you get caught up. I'm going to chain 2 in between, go into the next V space with 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets, and you're going to do that all the way around. When I come back, I'll show you what's next. Alright, we are back, and what I have here is we finished the 2nd row of the design. Now we're going into the 3rd row, and I did the same thing by slip stitching into that chain, top of the chain, slip stitching across and going into the space, chaining up 3 and putting a double crochet. Now what the difference is in this round, round 3, is we're going to start with a chain 2 in the middle, and then we're going to go back in with 2 double crochets, and we're going to even increase it more by doing 3 chains in the middle and moving on to the next V shape. So I'm putting 2 in, chaining 2, putting 2 more double crochets in the same space, and I'm putting 3 chains in between. And we'll do that all the way around. And the reason this increases because at some point this is on your shoulder and it's starting to get wider. And what I'm going to have you do in a minute is get an ink pen or a pencil and write this down, write your measurements down, because everybody may be a little different what I'm going to share with you in your design. So after you do round 3, you'll come back to round 3 and you'll slip stitch in that top of that chain 3, slip stitch in the double crochet, and slip stitch into the space, into the chain 2 space is what it'll be now. All right. And then when you get to that, you'll be looking like this. You'll be going into your 4th round. Now the difference into this 4th round is going to be you'll chain up 3 and you'll put 2 more double crochets. So they're going to be 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then 3 chains. And that you're going to do for, I think, until we get down to about 9 rows total. So we're going to have 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and then 3 chains in between, and move over to the next one. And you're going to do that all the way around. That's for round 4. And at this point, what I'm going to need you to do is we're going to do this one, continue this one out. I think for my measurement, I'm going to have a total of 9 rows, starting from the very first V shape. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So to have 9, that means I've got to do 5 more of those rows. And the reason is because once you put this on your body, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what it looks like. What we're trying to accomplish. Once you put it on the design, and the reason we're growing it, making it wider and wider and wider, is because now we're making room so that we can put your sleeves in. So you got to have more volume, more room to put your sleeves in. So that's why we have to go down about 5 more rows. And what's going to happen is when we get those 5 more rows in, we're going to be pinching it here and pinching it in the back to close it up as our armhole. And then once we make that armhole, it's just going to continue to work around our breast and down as long as you want it, whether you want it as a top or a dress. But looking at it right now, and if you've never done this type of pattern before, you've never put in armholes the way that I'm going to show you how to do on this one, just take your time, rewind until you're comfortable with it. All right, so right now I'm at starting my 4th row of the design, and I'm going to take that down till I have about, well, this one has a bigger hook, so I might not need 9. I might need only 8 or 7, just depends. This one I'm pretty sure, because it's a smaller hook, I'm going to need those 9. If you're designing it for yourself or somebody else, you need to probably do fittings. And so what I did was, when I got to where I thought her underarm was, because I had measured her underarm from her shoulder down to, you know, like a regular shirt, which was like about 9, I think. And when I got to that point, before I did seal it off and then had her come and fit it, put it on to make sure that it was enough breast room, because there are some things that you can do. If it's a very busty woman, you could add a few more stitches in the front just to give you more material. And what I mean by more material, meaning instead of doing 3 of these, you might do 4 in each one, and that'll make it wider. Or actually you would put more chains in between. That would just make the holes a little bigger, and I don't like making holes bigger, so I may stick with putting more stitches. But that's all will come later, and I don't want to give you too much information. But as you start working the pattern, if you're a pretty seasoned crocheter, you'll see what you can do to enlarge it or make it smaller. Another way, instead of adding stitches, go up 1 or 2 hook sizes just in between the breast area. That's what I'll have you do. If you're busty and you want to need more material, don't add any more stitches from row 4. Just go up a hook size from this point, put a marker here, put a marker here. And only do that for about 4 or 5 rows. And then usually go back to your regular one on everywhere else. Okay, if that makes sense. But I'm not busty, so I'm going to leave it as I'm going. So right now I just wanted to put it on to give you an idea. It looks a little bunched up back there, but it'll be okay. Once I lay it down. Can't get it laid down. But all right. And then the most exciting part about this is when we work in the armholes, and you're just going to love it, how easy it is going to be. And you'll use this in many, many, many other applications that you'll do with anything that you make. And it won't even have to be this stitch. It can be another stitch. You're just going to have to learn how to do your gauge. Very important, doing your gauge. And finding what your hook size is and the thread or the yarn that you're using. But you're going to be so confident when you get finished with this top. And I'm sure you're going to be a blessing to many people. So I'll come back after I have as many rows as I need before I get ready to start. But I need you to do your measurements and measure from the top of your shoulder down to your armpit, and then that will tell you about how many rows you're going to need before we make that armhole. All right, so this part is really, really fun. I'm getting excited, and just to see it starting to come into play is really. Now this is the Simply Soft yarn. This is the Worcestershire, I can't even say it. Worsted weight yarn 4-ply. And actually I have some other colors, some other yarn, this color but different weights, and I'm going to be putting with it. So again, I'll be back. Before you keep going, I wanted to explain something to you right quick. I'm sure you can hear that lawnmower and stuff outside, but I was telling you, for you busty women and who might want to have a little bit more material in here and you want to go up a hook size, you need to know where your front is and where your back is. Well, right now this would appear to be the back, but I don't use this as the back. I use this as the underarm so that the seam is hidden and that your whole piece looks flawless. So what you're going to do in your measurements is you're going to turn it sideways. So when we get done and get ready to do the armhole, and you're going to put this piece right here where we're starting at, and this seam right here, I want that in the back, if you understand. So actually it would be you turn it on around, and when I say the back, it's really like up under your arm, and that seam will be, this is probably going to hang off of me, and so it'll come from back here and under when we start that seam, when I pinch it together. So measure, you know, put it back there before you start your increase. So when you get ready to do your increase, you would only count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, possibly about 8 petals, 8 V shapes. Those would be done in a larger hook size. Only maybe 1 or 2 up. 3 might be too many. And only do it for about, you know, 4 or 5 rows, just to cover the part that's going to cover your breast. And it's just giving you more material, because anytime you make something that's custom made, it's made to your rolls. It's made to your, if you're more flat chested, then you might want to go down on your hook size a little bit, you know. So that's the fun part of designing. All right, but I want to make sure I got that in there before you kept on going. But everybody else, you know, if you just want to stay working with the pattern, and remember, this is stretch, so it is some give to it. So just think about all of that, what type of the weight of the yarn you're using, and just keep trying it on. And like I said, if you're making it for somebody else, make sure you periodically have them come over and do a fitting, so that way you won't have too much to take out. On the 10th row, this is 9 rows from this point right here, the first V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So at the 9th row for me, starting on the 10th row, I'm going to do the last increase, which will be, and I'll show you in a second. And the reason I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it for 1 row or 2 row, because at some point here, I'm going to be attaching this. And that's about as far down as I want my sleeve. I can come down just maybe 1 or 2 more rows and I'm fine. So for everybody, and see here, this is where my bust is. This is the middle part of my bust. This is starting to come under my bust, so I'm okay. And on the orange one I'll be showing you, I'm just going to keep going with it. I'm not going to even put any arms, so it can be a poncho. And then I'm going to keep on going, and it's going to be floor length, and it'll be just a cute skirt. Can be lined or wore to beach if you wore use cotton or whatever material you want to use. Of course, the better material you use, the better weight this lays and looks nicer. Okay, I'll be back in a second. I'm going to show you my 10th row. Alright, this is the end of my 9th row, and I'm going to slip stitch in the corner of that top of that 3rd chain, slip stitched over to the middle. I'm chaining up 3, and then I'm putting 2 double crochets inside, and then I'm chaining 2, and I put 2 double crochets. 3 double crochets inside. So what you end up with is, in that first one, a chain 3, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same space. So that's your increase all the way around. So I'm going to do that all the way around, and I'm going to do that for 2 rows, and then when I come back, I'm going to start the sleeve. Now wherever you're at, you don't want to go too far past down here, because if you do, this is where your sleeve will be, your armhole will be way down here. I like to start my armhole somewhere, just like my shirt, somewhere right in here where my shirt is, so that when I pull those 2 together, that'll be my armhole. Alright, I'll be back. Also, I still keep that chain 3 in between. When I go over to the next one with the 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And at any point in your pattern, you can change colors. I would change colors right at the beginning here, and I'd start my color change down here, and then chain up 3, so that it will look nice and even. With this particular top, I won't be changing colors, but I will change colors in the skirt. So at some point I'll come back and show you that color change in the skirt. Since I'm working on 2 different projects here, all out of the same pattern. And as you work it, you might come up with something different. Alright, so I'm going to go around. This time I'm going to try it on, see how it looks. If it looks okay to me, I might not need to do the next row. And I'll just come back and walk you through what you need to do for your armhole. Alrighty. Something else I've noticed here, I changed hook size when I started row 10. Thinking I was on F with the others, and I just picked this up after a month of not doing anything with it. Been so busy camping and doing a lot of other things, traveling. So I'm trying to finish this top. So I picked up another hook, and this is a H. Maybe you can detect the difference. This is the F hook, and now I'm at a H. And even though it has more stitches, they're still a little bigger. So that's what just jumped out at me to make sure I let you know. Alright, you can still stay at your same hook size if you like. But going up hook size is a nice way to enlarge without increasing also. In bust areas and your hip area and things like that, and still stay true to the pattern. I know this is probably not your traditional tutorial on patterns, but I'm really just I'm trying to figure out how I want to show you to make your armhole. I only did that last row, made it 10 rows. Alright, so this is what it looks like. But here I've put a marker because I wanted to see how many of these V's I needed across my arm. And so what I did was 7, and then hooked them together with a marker for right now. But it's kind of tight right there. I don't think I like that. We'll see. This is just an opening if you just continued on and wanted to make just a shawl without the sleeve. But what I need you to do to measure for your underarm is see how many points you have to about right here. And however many points you have right there, put a marker. Alright? Then what I need you to do, take it off, lay the piece down, match up all your V's, match them up. Okay, here's where the one that was up underneath me, under my arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't feel like 5 unworked is enough for me. So I'm going to add, I'm working from the back. This is the back of my piece, and the back needs a little bit more less because the front is your bust area. So I'm going to, instead of having 3, 4, 5 unworked, I'm going to add 2 more. 5, 6, 7. And then I'm going to put the marker right in between those chain 3s. We're going to work with those to do that. I wanted to jump in here in the middle of this video and show you the other piece that I was working on, the orange one, and I told you with this one you could just keep going, and ended up making it just a poncho that goes around your neck, no arms, or you can keep making it long, as I'm getting ready to do, to go into a skirt, and just keep going down to the ground, just keep adding on colors. No specific choice color, just whatever I got in my stash. I did want to come in and show you how to add in a new color. Now this particular color I added in, I just added it in right when I ran out of the orange, wherever it was at. So it wasn't at a point where your eye would, you catch your eye. Let me see if I can find that point. It has to be, okay, there it is right there. Okay, so it wasn't too bad. You see that? See that right there? That's where you just pick up another color and keep on going. Alright, I want to show you how to, so that your eye will still stay the same when you change colors. Alright, so I ended this one and I cut it. This is where I started at. And I'm just going to add in the color. And there's quite a few different ways that you can do it. I'm picking yellow just to add to the bottom of this project. And then whenever that runs out, I'll add another one. I think I was using an H hook, or went up a little size on this one, but I think I'm just going to stay with my F for right now. Sorry about that. But here I am, and I did the slip stitching over. I just slip stitched over, and then I just cut about 3 inches of the tail. And for this simple one, you basically are just going to pull in the new color. Leave the old color dangling, fold it in half to meet it. I'll go in to that space and pull it through. And then what I'll do is, to get rid of the tail, keep about a 3-inch tail, I'm going to start a new row. And I'm going to start it with 3 chains. 1, 2, and I'll filter that tail in and out through that piece of work that I'm doing right here. Let's see if I turn it this way. Can you see it better? Alright, so now I'm just going to, in my positioning, the way I'm seated is not good in the motorhome. Some people don't like to look face on when you're doing something. They want to work right with you when they're doing it. But because the way my, the way my camera is positioned, not good. Let's see if I can turn it like this. I'll do it like this. Show you what I'm doing. Alright, so I chained 3. I'm getting rid of that tail in there. And I'm going to still stick with my 3 double crochets inside of here. And then I just kind of work that tail in as I'm going. Work it through my chain 2. Now this yarn, I can tell already splits really easy. In my chain 2. And then go back and put 3 more double crochets in there. And while I'm doing that, just get rid of that tail. You never know what was in there. And that gives it a smooth transition. And then I'll chain my 3 in between and go over to the next one. And somewhere during this video, I'll jump back in at the end if I get this finished or add any more colors to it. And I'm just going to keep this same pattern going down all the way for as long as I want it. I had a couple of ideas that I thought I could run some ribbon or something down through these, but I don't know, maybe just make it as a beach cover up or put some tights on up underneath it. Probably a variety of ways you can do it. I'll just probably put it out on my craft table whenever I do a craft show, and somebody will have a vision for it and sell it for 20 bucks or something like that. But anyway, that's a smooth transition into another color. Come back over here when you get it all the way around and slip stitch into the top. Slip stitch across. Never slip stitch across with a different color, because that'll bleed right through there and look terrible. So if you had to change, it would be down here. That's the only connection part that you can see right there. Alright, so that's how I change colors with that. So we're still working on the top pattern, but I just wanted to throw in that I'm going ahead and make this one a skirt out of that same pattern. Great idea. Hi, I'm back and I'm in my environment, but guess what? It's been October, November, December, January, February, about 6 months since I started this video that I have finally picked it back up. So I have sliced about 10 together, you'll see, to get to this point. And so now I need to just finish out the top. And so like I told you before, I'm the type of designer, and with my tutorials, I'm everywhere. I'm wherever I'm at when I'm crocheting. And so I'm just sharing with you. It's unorthodox, some people would say. Some people love it. Some people laugh about it. Some people it may irritate. But the whole purpose is just to be able to share my knowledge about crocheting and my gift, and to be a blessing. So we're going to pick up at, I left off with the orange skirt that I was making. And I'm going to, at the end of this video, I'll try to find some pictures of where I've actually wore it as a skirt. And I put some orange tights on up underneath, and I was at a picnic event or something. But it was really cute. But it was just an idea to give you guys things that you could do with this particular pattern. So now we're going to get started on working on the actual armholes and making it so that you can wear it not just as a poncho, but as the top that I was inspired by, that I made for an outfit for a lady for an all-white party. And again, I'll also put those pictures at the end, or there might be one at the beginning. I'm not sure yet, once I finish this hour-long video. So again, I just thank you for hanging in here with me. So sorry that it took me so long to get back to this. As you see, I've had different hair, and now I'm into dreading my hair. So these are called my eeny teeny weeny braids, and there is a video on here, some videos, because I have some people who are following my journey, and right now I'm at 5 months in, and I'm going to try to go for a year and see how it looks at a year, and if I like it, I'll keep on going. But this was a life journey for me. I always admired other people's hair, and always wished that I could have done it, so I said, why not? I'll be, 59 this year, so I'm just going to be doing a lot of the things that I've always wanted to do, and I encourage you to do the same. So let's go ahead and get back to finishing that top out, and just say enjoy the ride, because I love crocheting, and I love sharing my knowledge with you. Okay, we left off with you marking your armholes. And so my armholes are marked. I have seven tabs here that will be unworked on this side. And I have 7 tabs that are going to be unworked on this side. And this is actually where the end of my row is. But remember earlier in this video tutorial, I told you that I was going to put my beginning and end on the side so that everything looks very tailored and clean. So once you get that all laid out and get it marked where you want, which is your front and which is your back, here's my marker. I just pick up anything that I have. So I have these two. I have my marker together on my 7. So I mean I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tabs that I'm going to be, where I'm going to start the body of the top and be making the armholes, if that makes sense. I think that's one of my favorite things, if that makes sense. Alright, so this is, I have these two together. You should have a marker on there, a piece of string or whatever. So, and I want to make sure I keep it going in the right direction, because this is a continuous round. So, I'm going to put the marker there just for a minute on the back one. So, when I came to the end, where are my hooks at? When I came to the end, I'm going to take it back out so you can see. I chained the 3, and then I slip stitched right there in that corner. And then I slip stitched over to the center. Alright, so this is where I start the next row. So I'm going to chain up 3, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets inside that space. I'm going to keep going with the pattern, chain 2, and 3 double crochets in that space. Now I normally would keep going around, but I'm going to bypass those 7. It's really not going to be 7, it's going to be 5 that I'm bypassing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure how many tabs you're going to have on your arm. But when I do the first of my 7, I'm going to chain my 3 like I normally would. And I'm going to jump over to where my marker is on the back side. But I'm going to turn my work, I'm going to flip my work. So I'm going in this direction. I'm going to take out my marker here. And I'm going to do the pattern right there in the tip of that one. So I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochet. And I'll show you what. Chain 2 and 3 double crochets. Now that's the start of making that first armhole. It might not look like an armhole to you yet. Let me hold it up. But you'll see when we come back around. My arm would go in there, and this will be the under part of the arm. And when we come back, we'll just pick up. We'll wait till we get to the end. I don't want to go too fast. So that's the first armhole. I'm going to finish the pattern. I'm going to go all the way down till I get to my other marker. Here's my other marker where I've marked off 7 tabs. And I'm going to be making my armhole in these 2 tabs right here. Be back. Alright, I'm over here on the other side at my marker. Here's my marker in these top 2 chain 2 spaces. So I'm going to leave it pinned in. I'm going to chain 3 to get over to it. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to put 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in this first one without even taking my marker out. Might as well keep it together so I don't lose it. Oh, what's the matter here? 1, 2, 3, chain 2, and it's kind of in my way, so I want to take that pin. It's a pretty big pin out. I'll leave it in the other one and just lay it down there. Oh wow, I dropped it. But I know it's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, and put 3 more. And now I'm about to change yarn. Remember I told you earlier that somebody gave me a bunch of this color yarn, but they're different types. So I've got this, all these different balls, and I'll just be adding those into this since this is my template I'm making. So I've done 3. So instead of continuing going forward, I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to go over there and get that other tab on the other side, which is the back side. I'm going to flip my work, and I'm going to go into the top of that one with 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Now let me back up and explain to you what I just did, in case you didn't catch it. Alright, so I was going around, but I stopped, and I'm going to leave these, my cap sleeve, unworked. So instead of continuing going around these, I just left those unworked. And if I hold it up again, I'll show you. Can't see it that good. It's coming together. This is the underarm. This is under your armpit right there. And then the pattern will pick right back up when I get around to the other side. Alright, so I'm going to keep on going. And this way I'm keeping it going all in the same direction. And at any point you can change colors if you like. I think this would be done in a variegated, it would look beautiful in a variegated color. Because the yarn will do all the work. The pattern will come to itself. Alright, so I'm not going to keep you on here while I'm trying to finish this part up. I'm going to come back. Probably when I come back, I have a different change of clothes on because I got to get ready to get out of here and go to a meeting. So I'm going to just keep going around. But what I do want to show you, this is getting ready to take shape. There's one armhole. And there's the other armhole. There's one. And there's the other. They're just so beautiful. And if it comes, you ever want to make a sleeve, you could do that. You can just pick up the pattern. It's beautiful, but I just leave the cap sleeves on this one. And I'll probably put it on the next time I pick this back up. I'll go all the way around when I get to the end. And when I come all the way around and I get to this end, you see the end is just sitting up here by itself. You're just going to slip stitch into that corner, slip stitch over to the middle, and keep right on going. Yeah. So it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pattern. Alright, so I'll come back and then we'll just work down the rest of the body. And you can either stop it at your waist, your hips, or you can take this pattern and go all the way to the ground. We'll see where this leads me. Alright, I'll be back. Jump in here so you can see how I'm going to decide whether I need to take anything in or not. So there's that underarm. There's There's the underarm. I really don't have a lot of material yet. I gotta wait till it comes down a little bit more. And then there's the back. But see how this could be a shorty? Just a shorty one to go over a cute sundress, like I have a sundress on right now. But I was thinking of one with a T-strap. And that would cover you, like if you wanted to wear it to church. It was a cute dress, but you don't want your arms all out, you know. So you can get as fancy as you want. So this is how I'll put it on, and I'll decide whether I need to start tapering it in or not, or just let it hang. Some people like to wear things fitted. And so that's what I mean by tailoring. Okay, so I'll come back. Yep, so I hope you understand what I was trying to say. So this will kind of just hang. Remember our beginning when we measured? Loving it so far. All right, so I'm going to keep on going. I'll come back when it's probably like down here. Camouflage. All right, I'm cutting in here right quick. Got about 2 or 3 different changes of material and colors. This is all scraps that I'm using. All right, that's how it looks so far. With the underarm down. I'm gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep going as long as I can. But you can stop right here if you'd like. Now, if I made this again, I would have taken this in a little bit more right here. Got extra material right there. Don't need, and I got a little extra material right there I don't need, so I might have made those. But from, let's say from about right here, I started doing two chains in between each row, all the way down. Just to kind of tighten, because you know this is stretchy. I mean, one size can fit many. All right, so I think that's probably where I'm going to end this tutorial at, because this is about as far down as I need to go. And like I said, you can always add on to your sleeves if you like. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll have some still pictures after this of the red skirt that I did. And I'll probably have, if whatever I finish this off, however long I finish this off, I will put those pictures on the end. And like I said, I'll put the information in there for my Facebook page that you can go to, Designs by Dana, and put some of your pictures of things that you've done. And as I always end my tutorials with, give me a thumbs up if you like. Comments or concerns, I always address those and answer back. And remember that you are blessed. Why? Because you are blessed by the best. And thank you again so much for watching this very long and lengthy tutorial. But I got a lot of information in, and I think you're going to be blessed. Bye-bye.